today we have a very special guest who goes by the name of Bianca Miller. How are you this afternoon?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm glad you asked that, because generally speaking, it's usually the other way around.
Really? People don't ask?
No.
That's bad.
Yeah,
It's the caliber of people you're
I
interviewing.
know.
You're not allowed to say that.
I can already tell that we've got a different caliber here. No, but to give a brief background for anyone who's not aware, I regard you in the way I see you as someone who's an entrepreneur first. Definitely someone who's very well known for the TV show, which is Apprentice.
Yeah.
Who's now gone on to be known for much more than just Apprentice, which is obviously what we're here to speak about today. And find out a little bit more about your journey as well, and what got you here, and a bit more of your background. So let's sort of go right back to the core. I mean, as I say, most people would have come across you first on their television screens. I say most people, not so much your close people, but the public. What was it that led to you even getting on those TV screens? What was it that led you to apply for Apprentice in the first place?
Sure. So I think I've always been quite entrepreneurial. I always had an interest in business from a very young age. And I think it was when I started my first business, the B Group, in 2012. I was working in personal branding. I had, fantastic clients. Everything was going really well within that company. But there was this issue I'd had regarding skin tone hosiery from when I was working in the city. So prior to starting my first business, I had a job in the city, and the expectation was that you had to wear tights, whether that was black or nude. Really, to have that final polish, that was the expectation. And I went to stores and there just wasn't nude hosiery to match my skin tone. And so I did what most women who can't find a solution do, which is go bare-legged or wear black. Like, those are my options. So at the time, I looked at it and I thought it was a really tough industry to break. I didn't really know anything about retail beyond being a shopper, a consumer. So I thought, this is quite a difficult task, really. So I kind of put it to one side, got on with my corporate job, started my first business, and then, 2.5 years into my first business, my husband came home and said, Bianca, The Apprentice is open for applications. You love the show. You've always been a fan. You've got this idea for hosiery. Why don't you apply? And if I'm honest, I was like, no, hell no.
What made you say no? Is it the idea of being on TV or?
What made me say no? The idea of being on TV, not particularly wanting to be famous, having seen the show and have been a fan of the show, knowing what they do to people on that show in terms of, getting fired in the first couple of weeks, what would that have done for my personal branding career or my, business, the face of what I do as a businesswoman. And just, I guess, a little bit of fear. It's a very popular show. Putting yourself on TV creates a great deal of exposure, which can be fantastic, but also could be quite detrimental to your career. And so that was my main concern.
So prior to, getting onto Apprentice, it was quite evident, especially as someone watching the show, that you had a large level of knowledge in regards to business and confidence, full stop. He's quite intimidating, the show's quite intimidating, so all of that together could have been quite daunting. Where was that experience? Was that just self-made experience, excuse the pun, or was that experience that you had learnt formally in some level of education?
My parents were entrepreneurs as I was growing up, so and actually quite a few of my uncles and aunts as well. So I probably grew up in an environment where actually a 9 to 5 wasn't the norm. And so from a very young age, I think my parents encouraged me to pursue my kind of entrepreneurial pursuits and mindset. They kind of encouraged that. So from selling paintings when I was 6 or 5 or whatever to them and making a profit there, to setting up shop in my bedroom, selling other things, to starting under 18s parties when I was about 17, doing a little dance. I did a dance academy at 14. Like, they encouraged all of that. And I think that's where the kind of confidence had come from. But also, obviously, prior to going onto The Apprentice, I had a business for 2.5 years. So I understood what it was like to come up with a concept, change that concept into reality, go out there and get clients, market it, create a pricing structure. All of those things I had experience in. But obviously, The Apprentice is a whole different ball game. It's like condensed, super condensed business in a day. That is not normal, but it was great fun.
One thing I find, and this is probably from a male perspective, and this is why I'm really excited to have you on the platform today, is we have a large female following, and they often address the points of the struggles of females in entrepreneurship and females in the workplace, which as guys we're quite blind to. We're quite ignorant to it. I've had conversations before where it's sort of like, oh, is it more difficult? I didn't know. What is your opinion on that? Is that something that you notice, or is it something that because of your mindset, you've never really felt oh, I'm a female entrepreneur? Because I try and shy away from that term. If you notice, I would never have introduced you as that. We wouldn't put you online as that, because I feel that you're an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur. Gender specific doesn't actually have that much to say. How do you see that?
You know, I think it's a difficult question, and I think it's a question I get asked quite a lot. And the reality is, I don't know any different. You know, I am a female entrepreneur, I guess. From my perspective, I'm just an entrepreneur. But if you speak to different people, I'm a black woman in business, I'm a woman in business, there's so many different ways you could probably provide categories for what I fit into depending on the agenda. And the reality is, I'm just an entrepreneur. I probably come at it slightly differently. There's research and statistics that say that women are better entrepreneurs because we're more risk adverse, we're a bit more organized, there are certain attributes that I guess lend to being a female entrepreneur. But in the world, is it more difficult? Maybe. I don't know, but I do know that there are times where I feel like as a woman, sometimes as a black woman, there are certain barriers. But I just don't let those barriers faze me, because the reality is I am what I am, and I can only do what I can to push my business forward, to push myself forward, and ultimately to be a good representative and role model of what it is to be in business.
Yeah. Coming out of that show, what was your first sort of reaction towards it? I mean, obviously getting quite close to the end of it, and I know that you must have, your aim of it initially going into it kind of thinking, okay, it is whatever, and then realizing, wow, I can actually win this. How was that? How did that sort of change your life coming out of the show?
Coming out of the show, I think television is an interesting world, because you literally finish the show and that's it. You get kind of dropped back into society, and I think you make of it what you can. And so coming out of it, I just decided to continue to do what I was doing before I went into the show, and also obviously to create the hosiery brand. Bianca Miller London was my other thing. But what changed? I think meeting, people coming up to you in the street and saying thank you. That was huge for me. It's not something I anticipated from the outset. I knew I would go in and do the best that I could and be the person that I am, and take that as far as I could and get into the final. For me, was amazing, but the response I think I've had since then of people saying thank you for showing that women can do it, thank you for showing that, whatever, that's huge. I think that's made a big difference for me.
What would you say the main things were you learned from that whole process, if anything new that is?
The main things I learned from the process, television is dangerous. It's very well edited.
As in how you wasn't necessarily how you was always portrayed? Or?
Yeah, I don't think I was portrayed badly, if I'm honest, but I think that, there were days where we might be filming for 4 days, and that gets compiled into a 45-minute show, and then the boardroom. Yeah. So you think about that amount of information that they edit down. They can make you look however they want. Yeah. So there were some tasks that when I watched it back, it was totally different to how I had remembered it, because of that editing process. What else did I learn? Business is about networks. The reality is, The Apprentice, of course, they've got lots of money to put into the show, but it shows actually how quickly you could create a business if you had the right network and if you had the right amount of money. It's an unusual circumstance. Most people never have that opportunity to create a business. Come up with an idea and the next day it's printed and created. It just doesn't happen in life. Yeah. But it shows that what could be possible if you had the right network and money.
Did you maintain a relationship with Sir Alan Sugar?
Yeah. We email every now and again. Lord Sugar. It's okay. We email every now and again. But I think my relationship actually has been more with Claude Littner. I think, he hates me saying this because he's meant to be like the scary character in the show, but he has been a wonderful advocate for me and everything that I've done since the show. And I think to have someone like that, as powerful as that, on side really does illustrate, that you're on the right track, you're doing the right thing, because he doesn't take any prisoners. So for me, that was like, okay, validation a little bit.
Cool. Mindset of something that I think I've been excited to get into with you, and it's a conversation I would have on or off camera, which is just, you come across as, you definitely have a booming energy, and I think being an entrepreneur is a lot more than just the skills, it's the person you are as well. And we're going to get on self-made in a bit, and I've seen a few chapters in there that are very, very relevant to our platform. Now, to give you a brief rundown on our platform, it is mainly focused on personal development and motivation. What would you say, I mean, if you was to sort of summarize your mindset, what would you say it is? What is it you stand for? What is it that's created Bianca as a person mentally?
I think that's a great question. What's created? I think my main things, I guess, is passion and determination and hard work. I think those are the three things. I don't know if they're actually mindsets, but...
Yeah, I mean, sorry to interject you, but let's firstly take hard work.
Yeah.
I mean, I often have this debate within other entrepreneurial environments where it's like hard work versus smart work. What's your views on the difference, just before I tell you mine?
Yeah. Look, I think we could all work smarter. Yeah. I think, there is a difference between working hard and working smart, but I think there is also, the reality is that hard work is always going to get you far. Like, obviously, I want to be as smart as possible in the work that I do. I have a great team who I have to delegate responsibility to. I have lots of people that I work with in order to get to where I want to go. And that's fantastic because it is important to work smart. But I think there's something about working hard. I think myself and my husband, we probably work harder than most people I meet, in terms of entrepreneurs and people who have corporate jobs, because we put in the time, effort, and energy. And I think that is illustrated in the output. What we get out of it is because we are working hard. Yeah, we work smart, but we work extremely hard. Yeah. And I think you have to be prepared to put in that extra work, to work harder than any other person out there in order to achieve your goals.
Would you say that personal development is something you practice on a daily basis?
Yeah, I try to. I don't know if it's a daily basis, if I'm honest, but, I think we both listen to audiobooks. I go on training courses every now and again with kind of industry experts so that I can, take a little bit about what they've done in order to achieve my goals. I think in order to be successful, you probably at times need to take insight and information from those who have already made it. Yeah. And I think that's partly what the book is about. I know we'll talk about it later, but it's about taking information and knowledge from someone who's been there and then taking that knowledge and doing better. Yeah. And I think that's why self-development is so important. And passion and determination, being passionate about what you do is so important. So many people I meet who are like, I've got a great business idea, they want to start it, but they're not really passionate about it. They want to make money, which obviously is business, that's the ultimate goal, is to make some money, but you have to have that passion, you have to really want it, and want it more than the next person.
Passion over money, would you say? Definitely, yeah?
Yeah. I think if you're going to start a business, money will come if you have the right drive, determination, and passion. When I start and have started businesses, it's always something I think, wow, I really want to change that. Yeah. I really want to innovate that. I really want to create something new, different. Yeah. I look at the end customer and I'm like, they want this. How can I give them what they need? Yeah. And that's where it's about.
We touched briefly on sort of the obstacles that come in the process of bringing a book out. So to go back before we get on Self-Made, what sort of obstacles did you come across with Bianca Miller London and how did you overcome them?
I think some of the primary obstacles was manufacturing. Manufacturing is a huge obstacle. I really wanted it to be a British brand, so I wanted it to be made here in the UK. That was a huge decision for me because it had repercussions on the price point, and it had repercussions on kind of the minimum order quantity. So a lot of that was difficult. It was very new for me as well. And understanding the retail market, that's another thing that I found really difficult. As I said earlier, I came at the business as a consumer. I looked at what I would want as a customer, and then I tried to create that. Yeah. And that made it difficult.
That must have been quite. So, did you have to start getting expert advice from other people within the industry, or did you learn all of that just from trial and error?
A bit of both. So, expert advice from the industry. I reached out to my network. And people who were in the hosiery or people who were in retail, I asked them what I should be doing, how pricing works, retail pricing and margin, price point, recommended retail price, all those things. And I looked at my own experience. I looked at what was available on the market. I bought items, looked at what they had to offer, and looked at what I needed to create in order to make our product better. Cool.
Just before we move on to Self-Made, something you said at the beginning which I wasn't aware of is that branding was your background prior to all of this, personal branding. I find branding extremely important. I think it is the lasting effect that you're going to have on any consumer, whatever it may be. To you, what is branding? Because I think nowadays that word is just thrown around left, right and centre, especially with social media. Sure. So what do you see as branding?
So when we look at branding, so my expertise, I guess, is in personal branding fundamentally, but when we look at branding as a whole, just as an example, so the brand is Apple. The product brand is the iPhone, the iPad, the laptop, whatever that's called. and the personal brand is Steve Jobs. So that's kind of how the three areas of branding. And I think as any entrepreneur, I think it's so important to understand the importance of your personal brand with that business brand. I think a lot of people pay attention to the business brand. They want to market that product. They want to sell that book, for example. They want to get it out there, but they haven't thought about what else happens. You know, what about the person who's the face of that brand? What am I doing to ensure that that person has credibility? And I think for me, personal branding and branding as a whole, people now need to start breaking it down into different, you know, dissecting it and looking at the three types of brand that's available and really selling each one, you know, thinking about how you can positively market each one and just making, you know, branding more interesting.
Is it something you'd say you make an effort to do, or would you say, because I think we're in an age where authenticity sells now. So it's I mean, with your Snapchats, with your Insta stories and stuff, it's like you can't really fake that. It's what you're actually doing day to day. Do you make a conscious effort to maybe be a certain way, portray yourself a certain way, or would you say you're in that natural state of this is who I am, take me unapologetically?
I think it depends on the social media. So I think I've very much created not a version of me, but I give about more information about myself on different types of social media. So LinkedIn is only the professional Bianca. That's what I do day to day, business only. I will never put a picture up of me and my family out for dinner. That's just not going to happen on LinkedIn. Whereas Instagram, that's probably me, my whole personality. That's me out with friends. That's me having fun. That's me going to work. That's, you know, that's that platform. Yeah. And same, I go to Twitter and Facebook are probably a bit of a blend of those two. So I think, yes, it's about authenticity. I think this current generation, millennials particularly, want to hear a story. They want to hear about that person who created the brand. They don't just want to see the Gucci's of the world. They want to see who's behind it, who's creating this brand, even if it is just a designer, but they want to hear a bit more about the designer. Yeah. And I think more and more brands are starting to do that, and I think it's really important.
Agreed. So we've now been joined with business partner and obviously co-author and husband of Bianca, which is Byron Cole. Pleasure to meet you, Byron. I mean, we're going to speak a lot about Self-Made as a project, sort of like you two's first baby, as it were. But before we get there, I want to know a little bit more about yourself. So sort of what put you in the picture and how we got to the position of Self-Made. Sure. How did this journey begin for you?
So I think myself and Bianca, we do a lot of consultancy. Bianca does a lot of speaking at events. And what we was finding is people were asking the same questions. So the pitfalls were very common and they were affecting a lot of people. So we were like, okay, we can do consultancy for you, but there's a cost element to it for our time, obviously, and our expertise. And we were finding a lot of people couldn't afford our costs for the day. So we thought, okay, how can we condense this information and give it to them so we can help more people achieve their goals? And we thought, we'll make a book. So all our experiences, all our trials and tribulations, all our expert advice has been condensed into the book, so we're able to give it away as a condensed piece of art, I would say, and help those who are trying to achieve their goals in business.
Cool. So just for those who are sort of new to the idea of consultancy, what is it you focus on consulting people with? What part of their business?
So we both do business consultancy. So those who are starting their own business, those who are trying to grow their own business, up to the process of selling their business. So we come in as experts and we look at the ways that they can actually take their business from A to B to C. So that's been condensed into the book.
How are you finding having that role to help someone else develop their business and also have your own businesses? How do you find that battle?
I absolutely thrive off it. I love being a consultant. That's when I'm in my element. I've learned a lot in business over the years, and being able to give someone that advice is fantastic for me. And the best way to get or to not make those mistakes is to learn from someone else who's already done it. Yeah. They'll be able to tell you in a lot faster, a lot quicker, don't do this, don't do that, do it in this way. Yeah. And that's the way I would advise any entrepreneur, whether you're starting or even when you're at the top of your game. There's always going to be someone else who's done it better than you. So ask them the question, how can I achieve this? How can I achieve that? Because they'll know the answers. And that's the way we've condensed Self-Made.
What is your business background? Is it formal education? Is it rawly trial and error? What's your background in business?
My background is quite mixed. I owned an estate agency many moons ago. I went to property services, so we were providing, we was a service-based industry. We were doing floor plans, photography, gas certificates, so on and so forth. If I fast forward, we now have got a chauffeur company. Okay. a luxury chauffeur company.
We've got the Rolls Royces.
That's right, yeah. So we've got like a couple of Rolls Royces. We've got some cars that we enjoy. So it's a good lifestyle business as well, because we get to, drive luxury cars, which is really nice. We've got a bridal directory. I do a lot of business consultancy and business development for Bianca and her brands. So my background is very, very diverse. Got a construction recruitment company which I co-founded. That's run by my business partner at the moment. I don't really get involved in that, thank God. That's my background in short.
Cool. Something I'm going to touch on briefly, just something I personally want to know for myself, is the challenges potentially of marriage and business. Is the cliche just a cliche, or is it? Obviously it's possible. How has it been? Well, the cliche is you don't mix. Most people see it as you don't mix business and pleasure, as it were.
What I would say is, cringe-worthy as it may sound, our relationship is fantastic. We work together, we live together, we play together. Everything works really well. She's my best friend, and we get on like a house on fire. We can go to dinner, but we've been talking about business. But that is what we enjoy. That is what makes us who we are. So it doesn't get stale, at midnight when we're working or watching, television or Suits or something. We'll have our laptops open and we'll be working, and that makes. So I think the cliche is probably, well, for us, it's definitely not true. We enjoy it. What would you say?
I would agree. I think for some people, business and pleasure doesn't mix. I get it. But I think for us, I think we're both motivated, I think, by the same things, and we're both passionate about the same things. So for us, business is part of our enjoyment anyway. So when we come together and we bounce ideas off of each other and irritate each other with new business ideas every day, it works. It works for us.
Cool. All right, so let's talk about your first unofficial baby, as it were. Self-made. Really, really outstanding title. One in which is obviously going to knock everyone straight in the face, because I think it's just bang, you know what it's about. Let's stick at the title for a second. What was it that led you to go for a title like that? Because I think that title fits in so many different categories. Is that what you had said before? I think it does. I think it's the corporate level, it's understandable. The let's say uncorporate level, as it were, it's quite commonly used. It's used as a slang term. It's used in music, in hip hop, etc., etc. So what was it that led to that term?
Go for it.
I think all of those things, actually. I think you correctly identified. I think that for us, it means a lot about what we are. I think we are fundamentally what we are, self-made. Both of us have started businesses from scratch without having huge loans or investments on a shoestring budget. We've created something great, and each time we do it, we feel like we've made it. There's something about being able to have an idea and bring it to fruition, and it being your own idea. It's something you created, your baby. That, I think, is what self-made means to us. And I think it also was about, you can be self-made in a job. You can have a corporate job and be self-made and make it to the top of your game, or you could be self-made from an entrepreneurial perspective. But either way, there are steps that you take in order to get to that position.
Definitely.
And I think a lot of people we listen to and read, they're all self-made people, They're the Brian Tracy's of the world who were like, wow, they've done that. And we listen to them because they are self-made. So why not create something that gives the people the insight they need in order to be on that journey too?
Cool. I'm very aware of the book, but people are watching may not necessarily be. So give it to us in a nutshell. What is the book about, and what's the vision for the book?
In a nutshell, the book will take you from starting your business to selling your business and everything in between, including social media, personal branding. And it's not just aimed at entrepreneurs, it's aspiring entrepreneurs, those who are doing project management, those who just want to do networking. There's an element in there of networking, a chapter for networking. So getting ahead it could be networking, could be your corporate environment. It touches on everything you need as an aspiring entrepreneur, someone who's already in business, someone whose business is failing and they need some information about moving it forward. So it's got everything in there, and it affects a variety of different people.
You mentioned from the beginning to selling the company. I know a lot of people who don't necessarily have a large level of knowledge on business, Some people sort of see it as, why would I sell my business? I understand it, but how important would you say it is to think about that aspect? Because a lot of people just think about, let me build my company, and let me have the company till I die.
Yeah, I would say some people start businesses to sell it. So some people's motivation is money. So if your motivation is money, the end goal is to sell your business. So you need to be able to structure your business in a way that is attractive for investors. Now, even if you're not planning on selling your business, it's still important to have those elements there so that you're running an efficient ship. So if you've started from the beginning, gearing it ready to be sold, your business will be at its most efficient from day one, even if you don't sell it. So what will happen is, if you don't do those things, it'll be worth less, or they'll be asking you questions and you'll have to implement them, which will be very costly.
That's interesting. I mean, as I say, we all either do these conversations so we learn as well, and that's something that I'm now thinking about. With you saying that, would you say it's therefore very important to always think about how your package could be sold all the time? So i.e. your product be sold?
So I guess my role within the group is business development. So I constantly look at areas of weakness, areas of improvement, and areas of opportunity. So that is what I do. So it is important for me to say, okay, we're not doing this quite efficiently enough. We need to plan very shortly to tighten that up. So yeah, there is some importance there, definitely.
I think ultimately, you're not every day thinking, okay, should I do this in case I sell? That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is, if you have the structure from the outset, when it comes to selling, it's a lot easier because there's so much paperwork, so much information that purchaser would require that you would then have to almost stop your business in order to get that information together. But if you'd done it from the outset, you wouldn't have to take that step.
Okay, cool. A few things to get from the book. What would you say the main 3 characteristics are needed in regards to being a self-made person?
Do you want to go first?
Nick a few little teasers from
The main characteristics from the book, or just in general?
Just in general.
I would more say from the book. I would hope that the general would be in the book anyway. So I would more say from the book.
I think characteristics, huge ones for us, I guess, is being able to network. I think networking is huge. I think for both of us, we've utilised our network in various stages of our businesses, in our personal brands in general. So I think that's a huge one. Just the ability to network. So I think people overcomplicate networking. And so I think in the book, we really try to break down what networking is and how you can utilise your network to make it reciprocal, not just about what you can get, but what you can give. And I think that, for me, is a key characteristic.
Another characteristic I would say would be taking action. It's pretty much in every chapter. Sometimes we procrastinate, we don't take action, and there is some elements in there that say, just take the first step and do something every day to achieve your goal, or something every day for the target that you've set yourself. And by taking those actions, you're going to reach your target and your goal.
I think maybe the final characteristic is never think you're done with learning. Like, I think as an entrepreneur, even as an expert, you might think, that's it, I'm an expert. You know, I got that degree, I got that master's, now I'm an expert. The reality is you are always learning. Like this book, we finished the book, we think it's excellent, but next time there might be more things we want to add to the book, you know, in the next print run, because the reality is,
the day that it was done.
Absolutely. It's a 2-year process, so there's so much that you learn, and I think you have to be open to learning new things and to taking new insight from people who you may not think of as much of an expert as you, but actually it's about being open to that new information.
Personal development.
Personal development all the way.
I can see you've got a chapter called Personal Development, which is, we love that, just so you're aware, totally love that. What do you guys, what's your main source of personal development? Is it reading, is it motivational videos, is it seminars? What's your sort of main thing?
I think we have a mix. We attend seminars. In fact, we've travelled across Europe to attend one-day seminars. I personally listen to a lot of audiobooks. That's my kind of, that's my car university, I would call it. It's because I spend a lot of time driving, and I can go through a book far more quickly in my car than I would, sitting down and reading. So my method is definitely in the car, listen to audiobooks. And then some mornings we listen to just things on YouTube, motivational tapes. Someone will wake up and just put it on, and it's just on in the house. We put it on the Sonos, and we just listen to it. So it's a real mix of personal development, really. And then also from our networks, we also learn from other people. We ask quite good questions, and our network say they're doing this, they're doing that. This is how you do it, and we learn from other people as well.
Yeah.
So it's a real mix, I would say, in terms of our own personal development, and of course on our journey as well. We're out separately and we're doing various things, and we learn things and share with each other as well. So I think it's a mix.
Yeah.
Are you both readers yourself?
Yeah. I think we don't get as much time to read as we would like. I think that's why we moved to audio quite a lot. But I think we take we do a few holidays a year, and I try and read a book each time. So yeah, when we have time, we read. And I think it's important to develop your expertise and change into other types of expertise by reading. I think it's so important. I think what was the statistic from Brian Tracy about if you read, is it 4 books a year, you'd be an expert in each subject, something like that. Yeah. Like there is something to be said for reading and gaining new knowledge, and take from that book what you can. Like, you know, I've read lots of things where I've like, oh, that bit's interesting, you know, highlight that bit or screenshot that bit on my phone so I can go back to it. And I think that's kind of what we're hoping people will do with this.
Absolutely.
Cool. The reason I asked that is we've got what's known as Grow Daily Book Club, and we had a competition recently which did really well, and we gave away 3 of what we would say as a team our most impactful books. What would you guys say one of yours, if any, most impactful book each?
One of the most impactful books for me was The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. And you know, you take from it what you will sometimes, and it had I guess an efficiency thing for me, element for me, where I was doing things that weren't really required and didn't have a huge impact. So it just restructured some elements of my day. And
the smart working thing
that's right. So you're talking about working smart.
That book was what led me to actually ask that question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was one of the most impactful books for me personally. You know, I can go into loads of examples, but I won't. But yeah, for me, it was the 4-Hour Work Week.
Bianca?
I think 2. So Lean In, Sheryl Sandberg. I think was a really important book for me from a kind of female empowerment perspective. I think what she talked about was really important, about making sure you have a seat at the table. You know, when things get in the way and, you know, you're not asked to provide your insight, make sure you provide it anyway, you know, really getting out there and pushing and doing what you believe in. I think that Lean In is a big book for me. And Start with the Why, Simon Sinek.
Simon Sinek.
Yeah.
Nice. So self-made, what's the overall vision with it? What is you guys come across as people who've probably had like vision board sessions, or you've sat there and said, I want it to be there and I want it to be everywhere. I can just tell. What is the sort of long-term vision you've got for the book?
Yeah, I will maybe just give one brief answer each.
Go for it.
Do you want to go first?
No, you go on.
Yeah. I guess our vision is we want the book to affect as many people as possible. Become a bestseller, that's our own personal goals. But to help people, genuinely help people to achieve their goals, whether it be in business or their corporate industry. So that's where I want to take self-made. That's what I want from it.
Nice. Exactly the same for you.
I feel like you answered 2, so it's okay.
Did I?
Yeah, bestseller and to help people. But yeah, absolutely. You know, we wrote it to help people, to fundamentally to change lives. Like we meet so many people that have excellent ideas and just don't know what to do with the ideas. And we really hope that they find that this book and the website, which will be, you know, an online resource with video interviews and so on. We're hoping the book and the website will help people to transition that idea to reality. And I think, you know, the way we wrote the book, it was 4 stages: the vision, the action, the reaction, the evolution, because we truly believe that business happens in, you know, those 4 stages, and we want to take people through those stages to make sure it's not just an idea, it's more than an idea.
So you said there's a website platform that's going to also coincide with that. Tell us a little bit about that. So is it going to be just about the book, or is it going to be general personal development?
So the website platform is going to be interviews with industry experts and partners, talking about, you know, what they should be thinking about when they're thinking about their business. So trademark lawyers, Nominate, who are they own .uk, and so on. Who else is on there? We've got legal information. So just everything you need. Some of it's in the book already, but everything you need when you're starting a business that you need to focus on that you might not have thought about: accounting practices, legal practices, trademarks, or just interviews with us, just talking about if something new happens in the world of business. We want to just say our opinion. That's where it'll be.
Cool. As I was speaking to you off camera, I was learning a lot about the process of putting a book together, and a lot of this is going to sound like I have no clue, but I have no clue about putting a book together. Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of people who, it's definitely a goal for me, and it's probably a goal for many people out there, but we probably wouldn't know where to start other than I've wrote it, where do I go now? Now, you said it's taken almost like a 2-year process. Talk us through that process. What does it involve?
Ooh,
The deep breath says a lot.
yeah. There is a lot goes into writing a book. I think if I was giving anyone advice, what I would say is the most important thing is to have something that you're really passionate about. If you have passion about it, you're able to write well about it. But then also be an expert in that particular industry. So if you don't know it, learn it. Or if you don't learn it, get it from other people. Because some books are made from a variety of different people. It's not even written by the actual author. So if I was giving someone some advice, I would say definitely those would be the things I would recommend to them to do. And then write a short synopsis and approach some publishers if that's the route they want to go down. If they want to get large distribution, and then they can look at writing the book. I know it doesn't answer your question.
Oh, okay, so would you say the writing would pretty much be the last stage in that?
So
Wow.
if you're going down the route of a publisher, you don't have to have the book written.
Okay.
You can have the book in a
Summary.
a summary of almost it's like
Almost like a
research.
idea.
It's like a business plan.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
this is
Yeah.
the book, this is what we want to do, why we want to do it. This is who it's targeted at. This is our credentials. What do you think?
Yeah.
And then if they like it, they may say, okay, yeah, we love it, or no, we need to make a few tweaks, or yes, here's an offer.
Yeah.
So the answer of the process is a very long answer. So hopefully I'll be able to kind of change the answer and give it to you in a bit more of a condensed way.
Yeah.
Because it's a very long answer.
You mentioned that there's sort of been 6-7 different types of edits. So what has that been because of spelling mistakes? Has it been content?
Yeah, it's a mixture. It's proofreading, it's content, over the time. So we wrote the book maybe a year ago now, and then it went to the publisher. They signed the contracts to do the book deal, to publish it. And then there was 8 more edits of the book since then.
Yeah.
So just spelling mistakes, website changes, maybe
formatting, just the way it's worded.
Just small things.
Yeah.
Like each edit sometimes had like 3 changes.
Yeah.
But you still have to go through that process. So ultimately, when people get this on the 5th of October, there's not any errors in there.
Yeah.
We hope.
Fingers crossed, should be flawless.
Yeah.
Something I've always wanted to know as well is when you see books written by several people, I've always wanted to know this.
Yeah.
Like, how have you written it together? Like, I know it seems obvious, but what is it, 1 chapter each? Is it one? How have you done it?
I'll let you answer this one.
It's not obvious. It's not. So don't feel like it's a silly question.
Yeah.
When we first started out in the kind of book writing journey, we did it the other way around. We started writing it, then got the publishing deals. That's why we know that's not the correct way to do it, right? So that's
They were surprised that the book was.
Yeah, we were like, it's ready. Why can't we have it out next week?
Normally they give you a deal. They give you 9 months or so to write the book and submit your manuscript.
9-month standard, are you not allowed to be ready?
You can be ready, but that's just not.
Yeah.
Because imagine you've written the book and then you give it to the publisher, they don't like it.
Okay,
And none of the publishers like it.
Okay.
And you now have to start again because they asked you to make a major change.
Yeah.
That could be a waste of time. So that's why you kind of are meant to give a summary synopsis first of the book.
Okay, cool.
And they have to pitch it to their board. It has to go through a process.
Yeah.
So if you're publishing it, it is that's why 9 months is works for them to a year to actually get it to that stage when it's ready.
Yeah.
If you're self-publishing, it's a different story. You can create it and put it out as soon as you like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you just don't get that distribution. You don't get, I guess, the expert holding your hand, taking you through the process. So it just depends on what you want from it and what your goal is. And part of our goal is to get this to as many people as possible. Yeah. So if you're self-publishing, which we did consider, we don't think we would have been able to achieve that. But with an international publisher, top 3 publisher in the world, we'll be able to achieve that.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask it because I still need to know the process of writing the book.
Yeah.
So how did it work? Did you write a chapter and then you wrote a chapter, or?
So we started, I did start that and I just went off
right.
target, that's fine. We started writing a chapter each and then we realised that was really very difficult and just because of time and also writing styles, then the book isn't quite consistent because it's kind of different writing styles. So we decided we would go through a process of getting someone to assist us with writing the book. Okay. And so what we did was we met with her basically downloading our brains onto her chapter by chapter, and then worked with her to write the book. And so the book is written from my perspective, so I'm talking through the book and I'm bringing in Byron's insights. Because you can't write a book with two people speaking, because it would be like, then Byron says, then Bianca said, then Byron said, then Bianca said. It would be very weird. So that's how it's written.
Cool. All right, cool. Well, I can say one thing on behalf of the whole team. We're definitely looking forward to the book release. It's definitely one that's going to be all over our website because it stands for everything we stand for. I mean, other than that, is there anything else that we should look out for? Or is the main focus for this year and the years coming forward going to be self-made at the moment?
Self-made, pre-order. 5th of October it comes out. This is official release date. You can pre-order on Amazon. Just type in Byron or Bianca Self-Made onto Amazon, or go to the website, which will take you directly to Amazon, and you can pre-order. At the moment, this is one of our major focuses. We do have some other things in the pipeline, but we'll be here a week, I think, if we start going through that.
Cool. We're looking forward to it. Thank you very much for your time today, both of you, and wish you all the best of luck with Self-Made.
Thank you.
Thank you.